All right, Commissioner, here we are halfway through February already. Good afternoon. How are
Hi.
you?
Good. Ken, Valentine's Day's coming.
You were teaching me before we started filming. There we go. There's my
My
strange
favorite
looking heart.
holiday. Oh, shout out
Favorite
to my hubby.
holiday. And Valentine's Day certainly falls within February, which, as we know, we celebrate Black History Month. So I think we wanted to start out today's video right on that point, right on that topic.
Yeah, we highlight lots of different diverse months, particularly Black History Month, because I am Black History. You think about the fact that I am DCF's first African American commissioner, and that's something that I'm extremely proud of. But in order to be the first, you can definitely be assured that I'm not the last. And with that is the distinction in DCF about kind of our diversity action teams and our racial justice work and even our immigration work. As we think about the different cultures that we work amongst and for, our diversity action teams do a lot of celebrations in months like this to really highlight information that people should know, or that you can learn about different groups or even learn about the group that you belong to. The racial justice work is really getting to the nitty-gritty of our outcomes, getting to our policies and practice, and getting to how we are treated as workforce peers. So thinking about those things all in the context of all of understanding each other, I think is important for us at DCF. And tomorrow is also Chinese New Year. And so for all of our staff members of Chinese origin, Happy New Year. And that's something that I learned. I learned if I wear red, that's prosperity, and it's the year of the ox. So I challenge everyone to learn something about another culture as we raise and elevate these particular months. One way to do that in Black History Month, I offered testimony on the Crown Act. And if you haven't heard about what the Crown Act is, we're going to put a link to that in our video today. And that brings us right to, in your shop, the legislative advocacy of Vinnie Russo and all the work that he and Kate Dwyer do to kind of keep us right on track with our legislative work.
Yep. So just to tie up, Commissioner, the theme that we started with today about Black History Month and celebrations. We want to hear from staff and see what is happening in the regions and the facilities on how they are acknowledging one another. I know in Bridgeport this week there was a great event. So send in those pictures, send up those write-ups to either myself or Gary Kleeblatt, and we want to celebrate those and let staff across our state know what we're doing and what is being celebrated. And we ended a short while ago talking about legislation. We are full force, as you said. Vinnie Russo, along with Kate Dwyer, are full force in pushing our legislative agenda forward. We're going to include a link in this in the accompanying memo to the governor's budget address. And we had our budget released on Wednesday. We're taking a look at that, and we believe we fared very well given the economic times.
Shout out to our fiscal department who, with Cindy Butterfield and the folks down there who really position us well and how we, spend our resources and manage it. So, I'm glad you mentioned the governor's address, because if you haven't seen it already, I would encourage staff to take a look at it. It's very quick, it's easy to listen to, and he really lays out the values of Connecticut through a fiscal lens of recovery. And it's consistent with the values of our agency, I think. I felt really good listening to him.
Great. So again, we'll connect everybody to that link. Now, this Wednesday coming up, we have our 2021 Leadership Summit with our managers across the state, and we're very much looking forward to that, because this is an opportunity for each division to talk about what they did as far as 2020 highlights, and now what they are planning to do in 2021. So what is your vision for that day? What are you anticipating is going to happen as we are feverishly preparing our PowerPoints and our key statements for that?
Right. You know, we promised in the beginning of our administration a couple of things. We promised we weren't going to disparage previous administrations because we were all a part of that. We promised that we weren't going to change for the sake of change. I think I used the analogy of a snow globe. We weren't just going to shake things up and see where they fell, that we were going to be really thoughtful about our infrastructure, thoughtful about planning what we wanted to have happen, and then tying all of those changes to how you know that we're doing better through the data and understanding things. And I think we've done a really good job over the first 2 years of really identifying where we had some problems or gap areas, but also how we can configure ourselves to really get to our goals and our mission of the department. So the leadership summit next week is to give the leadership of the department an opportunity to talk about what's happening in their particular shop, but then also how all of those pieces fit together. So I give everybody that's listening a homework assignment. If you are not a member of or if you won't be attending the leadership summit, ask the leaders in your respective division what we talked about. Let's hear how you know what's happening to make this department run and how the leaders of the department can carry that message to you. So that's your homework. After Wednesday, ask the leaders across the department. So what's up?
There's the teacher in you. See, it came out
there
again.
It is. That's right.
There it is.
And speaking of the teaching, Ken, as we think about the vaccine, we want to get schools open, right? That's one of the priorities of this administration. And of course, as Dr. Cardona is now, going through the processes of hopefully becoming the nation's education secretary, all eyes are on Connecticut on thinking about how we can get schools back open. And part of that is the vaccine. What do we know so far about the vaccine in DCF? We know what's happening at Solnet. Do you have any data over there?
We do. So first of all, with the vaccine, this is a question that's come up a lot from conversations with staff, questions in the COVID-19 mailbox, and that you get. So to really clarify for staff statewide, we have advocated that all DCF staff at all levels be eligible to receive the vaccine. We have many authorizing agents within the state that oversee, approve, and monitor our operations.
Yeah.
And again, we believe that it is in all of our best interest to have each one of our staff members receive the vaccine, and that information has been forwarded to the state comptroller's office, who actually organizes the vaccines on behalf of the state of Connecticut employees. Now,
but before we go a little bit further into kind of the comptroller and the state, is that this is a really fluid process that changes every day of really trying to navigate and prioritize. And like you were about to mention that, DPH has organized the phases of vaccine through that 1A, 1B, and the subsequent list. And then underneath each of those categories, there's subsets. And things get stratified and prioritized underneath those. So, for as much as I can be the biggest cheerleader for DCF and kind of moving all of our staff through that process, there's prioritization that occurs within that. We know that our Solnets went first. We know that because they're a congregate setting, the staff there were a part of that 1A category. And so what we know is that there's been about 50% uptake, and uptake means people that have agreed to take it. And so we know that there's also hesitancy, and we understand that. And so we want to make sure that we give you all as much information as possible to make informed decisions when it is our turn and when we can be ready to move forward based on the prioritization. So, what I think you were about to say is really thinking about how we fit, how we advocate, but that there's outside entities that have to put us in order based on some of the other priorities across the state, whether it's school or vulnerable citizens. And that brings me to, if you are 65 and older and work for the department, because there are 2,800 state employees across state agencies that fit that age category. If you are over 65, that means you meet an eligibility requirement to be able to be vaccinated. That can happen outside of the state-run organized clinics. So, if you fit one of the earlier eligibility criteria, jump in line. And then we're going to do what we can to make sure that collectively DCF, doesn't lose its place as the essential staff that we are.
And as we learn more information, providing that to staff, even if that means quicker than waiting for 2 weeks when we're scheduled to do our next video.
Yeah.
Staff are anxious. We're right there with them. We want to get vaccinated as quickly as we can. So as information unfolds, we will impart that to staff.
Yeah, and people need to know that, there may be others in the community that have gotten vaccinated that you may feel should have been behind us. I'm sure that people believe that they should be in front of us. All I can tell you is that we can advocate as strongly as possible. We have a dream team of people working. Jadi EJ is our vaccine coordinator, and she is working very closely with the powers that be across the other state agencies to make sure that DCF is positioned well, helping to navigate. Now, the Solnits are actually on their second doses. So some of the folks at Solnit are on the second dose from where it started. So as we figure this out, we are right alongside our state partners, and we are keeping DCF in the forefront of our planning and our prioritization as we, can advocate it as much as we can.
And speaking of that dream team, you dropped the hint on the dream team. The dream team of Dr. Nicole Taylor, Aaron Ryan, and Jadi EJ are going to be highlighted this coming week in a special edition Spotlight on What's Right, given their phenomenal work during the COVID-19 pandemic, contact tracing, informing the staff. So look for that. So Commissioner, I just want to ask, are there any other messages that you wanted to impart to staff before we give them the opportunity to turn off their cameras and then we get into the statistical end of the pandemic?
Turn off their cameras? You mean turn off the video?
Turn off everything. I guess.
So, yeah, no. No, not at all. Just, again, thank you for hanging in there with us. We are, almost a year in. We enjoy having these conversations. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for keeping the kids of Connecticut safe in whatever you do for the department. We recognize it, we see it, and we appreciate it. So we're going to hit the stats now.
All right. So for those of you that don't want to hear the stats, you can shut us down. Here are the most updated numbers. As far as caregivers, 319 caregivers, 239 youth in DCF custody, and 305 staff members have tested positive, and like you said, almost a year's time now.
Yeah, that's from the beginning. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be able to dig into that data a little bit more granular and give you some detail but related to rates. For instance, of that number of children in placement, Dr. Taylor tells us 100% of those kids have recovered. So, we want to offer you some additional detail. We know we lost 4 foster parents. So, those numbers tell part of the story, but I want to make sure you have the whole DCF story about how this has impacted us. Stay the course. Even as you start getting vaccinated, it's important for us to still maintain all of the warnings that we have shared from CDC and DPH about mask wearing, hand hygiene, and social distancing. Even with the vaccine, it's important to still heed some of those messages. And, the other thing is we also are noticing, again, staff meeting up with each other outside of work. We want to make sure that this vigilance that we hope that you apply while executing the course or the duties of your job also extends to your personal life so that you can continue to keep your family safe and we can continue to keep each other safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Commissioner, have a fantastic Valentine's Day. Have a great couple weeks, and we'll see you soon.
All right, Ken. Take care.